Greetings Nerdy List aficionados, and we have a fun one for you today. Well, they're all fun, but you know what I mean. It's always a good time when you get to look at some obscure characters. I'm Sasha, and these are the top 10 worst Avengers. Not everyone is cut out for the A-Team, and the Avengers roster is huge and ever rotating. So let's look at some people who should probably never have joined. Number 10. The Swordsman. Now, the Swordsman joined the Avengers for a brief period in the 1960s. He was a swashbuckler, whose tagline proclaimed him the newest, most daring, different swashbuckler. Initially a mentor to Hawkeye, and even teaching him how to do some trick archery shots with swords, Clint caught him stealing and was disillusioned. Sometime later though, the Swordsman attempted to join the Avengers. He did this in order to get the benefits that being on the team afforded, because you actually got perks with the ID card. I like to imagine that they all ate free at restaurants. However, he was refused, largely because of Clint being on the Avengers. His response? Kidnap and try to kill Captain America. And yet, a little while later, they still let him join. But, shock of all shocks, he turned out to be a double agent, planted by the Mandarin. He betrayed the Avengers, but then betrayed the Mandarin. And guess what? He got kicked out. Since then, he has both fought against and with them, briefly rejoining the Avengers. He was last seen on the team made up of formerly dead Avengers. Seriously, you'll always have to be watching your back with the Swordsman. Number 9. Two Gun Kid. So, Western heroes are extremely hit or miss. And despite being around for a while, Two Gun Kid was a miss. He had honorary status on the Avengers since 1976, and was upgraded to full reserve member in 1978. So the Two Gun Kid fights crime in the 19th century, and he only ended up joining the Avengers because of a time travel incident, and afterwards he stuck around to wander the world with Hawkeye. Lots of people hanging out with Hawkeye. Eventually he went back to his own time and brought a bunch of weapons with him. He then became one of Marvel's favorite tropes, say it with me now, a man out of time. And he cannot return to his timeline. It's all less complicated when you read it in order. However, really the Two Gun Kid needs to be bolstered up with tech, usually given to him by the Avengers. Things need to be pretty dire before you're digging that deep into your reserve list. Nice guy, not the best Avenger. Number 8. Tigra. She was compelled to audition for a spot on the Avengers by Moondragon, who used her telekinesis and telepathy to force people to try out when the Avengers found themselves short a member. And Tigra got the spot. Of note was that she managed to stop the Molecule Man by getting him to go to therapy, and he went. However, she never fully felt like her powers were up to snuff with the other Avengers, and she resigned with no hard feelings, but later went on to join the West Coast Avengers. So the thing is, she is having a battle with the cat side of her personality, due to her feline human hybrid brain. She has a cat-like appearance and is imbued with cat-like strength, which in comics is significant, as well as reflexes, claws, and teeth. So not everyone took to this and just felt it wasn't that cool. There's always someone on the team who maybe the others don't think has the best powers. Despite having a long career and arcs dedicated to her, cat powers are a bit of a hard sell, and she never really rose to the ranks of iconic Avenger. Number 7. Dr. Druid. Originally introduced as Dr. Droom, but they changed the name to avoid confusion with Doctor Doom. He joined the Avengers in 1987, but had to leave in disgrace because he ended up succumbing to mind control. He was manipulated by the villain Terminatrix into manipulating the team. He managed to maneuver his way to be chairman of the team, but ended up throwing himself into limbo along with Nebula, who Terminatrix was masquerading as. He regained his control, but he was disgraced. He's worked with the team since, but it wasn't the same. He did get a memorial statue at the manor after he died though. Never forget that the Avengers used to operate out of a mansion. He helped out as a ghost for a while and was later resurrected. Number 6. Demolition Man, or D-Man. Okay, seriously, this costume. Why? It's a horrifying fusion between Wolverine and Daredevil. After receiving strength augmentation that makes him too strong for regular sports, he becomes a professional wrestler. He goes on a couple of adventures with Captain America, and the two end up becoming friends. And Cap asks him to be on the team personally after the East Coast Avengers had disbanded. So the consensus that readers seem to come to is that D-Man got on the team because of nepotism, and that really he wasn't qualified enough to be there. He even became a bit of a running joke, being one of the heroes being mocked when Luke Cage and Jessica Jones were looking for a nanny for their baby. It's just, the Avengers have gotten more and more more powerful over time, and eventually being a pro wrestler just didn't cut it, enhanced powers or not. Number 5. Triathlon, later known as the second 3D man, which actually makes sense because after being kicked out of athletics for using steroids, he was actually imbued with the stolen powers of the first 3D man, but he didn't know that at the time. He just thought he'd unlocked some secret hidden potential. He was added to the team after assisting them as they had recently been on the end of a smear campaign saying that they were religiously intolerant and racist. So since Triathlon was black and religious, they let him join for good press. They ended up really liking him though, and he liked them, and was able to resist mind control and infiltration to defeat the ultimate plot to bring them down. He ended up leaving the team though after they were restructured under a UN charter. He's been on various teams since then, but his Avengers days are over. Or you never know. They can change their mind. So why is he here? Well, that was just a super awkward storyline to get to know him. Ugh, the 90s. Number 4. Thunderstrike. Oh, poor Thunderstrike. He is not Thor. So Marvel has tried to rebrand Thor a couple of times, and in the 90s, that was with Eric Masterson, who became his own hero later on, Thunderstrike, and he was still highly derivative of Thor. He initially joined the Avengers in Thor's place, and that very much cemented him as replacement Thor, and he just never came into his own, and the characters even looked very similar. He later ended up coming into conflict with the Avengers when it seemed he had killed Seth, and they attempted to detain him. Well, he fought them, but defeated them, begged Thor to kill him, and then was killed by his own blood axe, which was cursed. He was briefly resurrected, but later went back to the afterlife. You know it's bad when they let you stay dead. Number 3. Justice, formerly Marvel Boy. He definitely got a name upgrade. He ended up being caught up in a mystic event at Avengers Mansion instigated by Morgan Le Fay, which put many Avengers under her command. However, some of them broke the spell thanks to their belief in the team, a belief Justice shared despite not being on the team. After the event, he joined the team. So much use of the word team. And well, why do people not like Justice? It's because he was quite the fanboy, to the point where he was so starstruck that he actually made mistakes that threatened the very people he was working with. He got better and is still a member, but some people never got over their first impression. Number 2. Rage. Rage was the youngest person to ever join the Avengers, joining the elite team at 13, after first encountering them and berating them for not having enough diversity on the team. After the UN Charter restructuring, they invited him to join as a probationary member. So Rage's powers involve exposure to toxic chemicals, causing his body to grow to adulthood in a matter of weeks, and giving him the usual superhuman strength, speed, stamina, etc. He ended up being demoted to trainee when the rest of the team found out he was a teenager. No Batman shenanigans on the Avengers. So Rage's thing was that he was written to be a teen, and written to be a teen in the 90s. So you can imagine how palatable that was. There were some stock characters in the 90s, and Rage very much got caught up in that, and he never fully recovered for some readers. Number 1. The US Agent. He was appointed to the West Coast team during the whole UN Charter stuff. He was initially introduced as a Captain America villain, a dark antithesis to highlight the dangers of patriotism. He was later introduced as a new Captain America in 1987 to boost sales. It went about as well as Hail Hydra. Actually, no, it did really well. The only problem was the character got more and more heroic throughout the process. However, people wanted Steve back, so he was given a new name and costume, and he became the US Agent. He even got his own limited series once he joined the West Coast Avengers. So this all sounds pretty good to some of you. Maybe. So why is he here? And number 1 to boot? Well, some would argue that the greatest crime a character can commit is being boring. And his core concept was never that strong to start off with, so once he lost it and became a derivative of Captain America, he kind of ceased to have a function. There was already a Captain America, so the world just didn't seem to need the US Agent. He was also a bit of a stoic character, which doesn't always translate the best. And let's be real, how many of you remembered that he existed? I'm sure some of you did, but in general, despite being a part of several major arcs, he just kind of blends into the background. So those were the top 10 worst Avengers. Who do you think the worst Avengers are? Get as salty as you want down below. And while you're down there, leave a comment and don't forget to check out some more of our nerdy lists. Thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you all again here soon. Bye!